And I put Miss Carenza's picture on here because I want you to know that she is the head of SBA. She is the one leading the effort of EIDL and the PPP. And the reason I put her here because EIDL loan, and many of you already know that you ended up, the maximum you're getting is 150K, right? You applied, you asked for $2 million, but you got 150K. And Ms. Carenza did have an answer for that, and she said that is approximately 6 months operating cost. That's exactly the word she was using. 6 months operating cost for small businesses at average. So that's why she gave you that. I say this to you is because that is what SBA were thinking. I 100% and 200% disagree with that because I know 150,000 is not 6 months worth of operating cost. And for many of the small business and teeny businesses that I know. So, however they come up with that number, that's fine. And the reason I bring up it to here is because you can ask for more. And don't think that 150,000 is the most you can get. No, you can get more if you request. And another thing I want to mention right here is we're talking about EIDL loan, right? There is another one similar to EIDL loan. It's called Main Street New Loan Facility. That is done by Federal Reserve. So it is Treasury who has another program for, they call it for a bigger business, but it's also for small business. And for business that under 15,000 employees and your, I think the loan, the operation, the sales is under 5 billion. So they had already expanded that loan and to more small businesses. But today we're focusing on EIDL, and we can always get another chance to talk about mainstream new loan facility. So with EIDL, and here I want to talk about the EIDL and the PPP. Are they the same or not? The reason I bring up it right here because this is both our SBA properties, okay? SBA is the one, Miss Carenza is the lady who actually pulled it out. You know, here is the difference. The EIDL loan, and right now the maximum loan amount you're getting on the portal is 150,000, okay? And the PPP, it is actually 10 million. PPP is 10 million. But EIDL loan originally, it was saying that it's 2 million, but we haven't really seen anybody getting 2 million. So most of the people are automatically getting 150,000 or less, right? And EIDL loan, the maximum forgivable portion is the 10K grant, right? Remember you apply for the loan and they have this little portion come out based on the number of employees you reported on your application. If you have one employee, if you're sole proprietor, you have one employee, and then you got 1,000, 2 employees, 2,000, 3,000. If you have 25 employees, the maximum you get is 10K. So that is forgivable automatically. You don't need to do anything. It's yours to keep. And you know, the way I look at that money, it is more like the stimulus check. You are getting it from IRS. So this is a stimulus check. You're getting it for your business. No return needed, no bookkeeping needed. You just got that income. It will be reported as your income, but it will not be required for you to spend on certain things. Just like your $1,200 you got, they don't tell you whether you buy meat or buy vegetables, right? It's just, you spend it. And your PPP, it is possible to be 100% forgiven. So that is a big difference, okay? And the collateral requirement. And for EIDL, the answer is depends. And for PPP, the answer is no collateral requirement. Even if you got up to 10 million, no collateral requirement. But EIDL depends. So hear me out this way. When you get EIDL loan under 25,000, no collateral period. There's nothing required. And no collateral just means that, let's say if you happen to fold your business and you don't end up losing your personal property or business property, the SBA is just going to close your loan because you lost your business, it's done. All right? But if it is over 25,000, it's $25,001 all the way to $200,000. That is where the business property are coming in as a collateral. What does that mean? That means, for example, you have a restaurant. For example, you got $150,000 EIDL loan. And for example, you just could not continue because this COVID-19 just killed you, okay? And so you close your business and you're done. You're done. And then you still owe that $150,000. Then SBA will collect from you. But the way they collect from you, they want to know how much of money you have in your business. Maybe your business has a property. Maybe you had equity in the property that is $100,000, $150,000. Then they will be working on close your property, sell your property, and get that money back. But if you have nothing worth anything, you just had zero, then that will be written off by SBA because there is no personal guarantee on there. But if you borrow more than $200,000 up to $2 million, right? EIDL loan is up to $2 million. If that happens, then you will be, you would have to file personal bankruptcy to completely not have any responsibility for the loan. Otherwise, you will just figure out, maybe sell your baby toys, get money, pay the government back, right? So, silly example. But I'm just wanting to, silly examples sometimes help you to remember what I'm saying. So that's collateral side. And credit check, yes, for EIDL loan, your credit is automatically checked. And you probably got an email saying that, well, we denied your loan because of your credit. And folks, if you are the one getting that letter, that email, and you can write back to explain why your credit is that way and still insist to get the money, okay? So it is not the end of the world. When SBA get back to you and you want to get back to them, because that means they're working on your case and they will give you, they at least should give you the grant if it is not the loan, okay? And the credit check for PPP? No check for PPP. And automatic deferral 12 months versus 10 months after forgiveness is processed. So that's the difference. Let's say you have EIDL loan. So say June 1st you got EIDL loan. You don't have to pay anything until May 30th and 2021. So you will start paying. So there's a 12 months deferral, right? Deferral doesn't mean that you got the money for free and you don't have any obligation. There's an interest being calculated, but calculated to the back. So they will take that year's interest and amortize it over to the 29 years behind. So for $150,000 and borrowed on June 1st of this year, and you will start paying on June 1st of next year about $760 a month. So that's kind of the amortization schedule looks like. And for PPP, let's say you didn't get it forgiven, and you ended up has a portion you have to pay for loan. Remember the loan rate is very low, it's 1%, right? 5 years term. And that one starts 10 months after you applied for forgiveness. Let's say you applied for forgiveness, and they say, okay, 50% is forgiven, but the other 50% is a loan. Then on that day when they made that decision, the 10 months start to calculate. So that is the difference on the deferral period. And where do you apply for EIDL? And remember, Ms. Carenza is the one that you apply to. It's SBA, is not the bank. And the PPP, SBA contracted the banks to do PPP, so the banks was paid 5%, 3%, all kind of commission rate to do that work for you. But EIDL has nothing to do with the bank. And I actually had a client, and really, they should be getting EIDL loan, but the bank was telling them that, oh, no, that's not good, and you want to get our line of credit because we can do better job than SBA. So I guess maybe in the way it is more like a competition between the bank and EIDL loan, but I have never seen banks deal better than the EIDL loan deal. So even for line of credit. So I want, I advise my client that to take EIDL loan when you can, but not to go for line of credit, because every year they renew line of credit. This year is free, maybe 0%. Next year it's become something totally different, okay? So, yeah, EIDL goes for 30 years, and, you have time to make that payment. So make sure that you know SBA is handling EIDL, but your bank is doing PPP. And the loan terms, EIDL has 3.75% terms of 30 years. And know that that 30 years is not like you have to stretch out to 30 years. Some small business owner goes, I don't even live another 30 years. How am I going to do this loan? You can pay it back early, okay? So that's not an issue. But the thing is, when you need it, you don't have to come up with such a big payment. It is a 30-year amortization. We're talking about getting through pandemic, okay? We're not saying that we're just everything normal and we don't need any help. No, small businesses, we need help, and this is the way to get through it, right? And for PPP, is 1%, 2 years or 5 years. If you got PPP later, it's 5 years. If you got before, it's 2 years. You can amend your loan term to be 5 years, folks. Know that you can, okay? And usage side, the use of EIDL loan is defined as working capital. And I will cover that more later, but just keep that term in your mind. Working capital, just like the word suggests, is working, your daily thing, okay? So we will go there later, but PPP, it is payroll cost plus a little bit of a rent, utility, and your transportation and your internet kind of cost, right? So it's limited to non-payroll costs, but majority is for payroll. So that's PPP. And in terms of your so these two loans, one big thing I want to mention is you do not want to use, even though both of them you can use to pay payroll, but you don't want to use the same payroll to use two sources to double dip, right? So make sure that you're really separating them so clear that there's no doubt you're not double booking them. And for small businesses, one of the biggest mental adjustment we need to have, folks. When we started business from beginning, and you and myself as well, all of you out there, and you really did that on your own. And you are hardworking, and you made it. You use your own money, and you made it. But with pandemic, it sort of brought all the small business into government kind of doing. So we are suddenly running our business with government money in the business. And I will tell you that I personally don't like that. I felt the more government money in the business, the more control, or the more being mistreated possibly, and who knows, and they can come around and just decide we're not doing the right thing. So, that fear is with me, okay? So I care about that, and I want to make sure that we can walk, there's a Chinese saying that you don't walk in the watermelon field fixing your shoes. Why? When you're fixing your shoes, looks like you're stealing watermelon, right? And you don't pick your hat when you're under peach tree. Why? Because when you fix your hat, people could think that you're taking the peaches. Same thing. So in business, since we're using the government money, and we want to be really clear of what we do and how we do it, this is the whole reason why the webinar even exists. Because I consider I am giving you lifesavers, And you learn from this, and you be serious about what that is. Because if you are not, these are criminal charges against you personally, and for not doing it right. So with EIDL loan, and I want to lay it all out, okay, and say it really clear and a plain language, and there is no jargons, and I am not good with English. I just tell you what it is, all right? So this loan, and the rollout was really, really rough. Ms. Carranza, and there are people saying that, why don't you just give it to the bank, let bank roll it out for you? I guess it's possible, but SBA is a big organization. They're really supposed to already, they're really supposed to know how to roll out these things, but not very smooth. And we do know that, and in the month of April is actually the hardest time for small business. But their small business has no PPP loan and no EIDL loan, and they also applied for the state government help and then no money coming in. So those are the darkest time for many, many small businesses. I know that. But we come through. EIDL loan now is available. And one other thing I want to tell you that don't assume the government is going to roll out EIDL loan for you all the time. This ends on September 30th. Okay? And you want to take advantage while they have it. And if there's another pandemic come through, there's no shutdown. And the government is already saying that no shutdown. If there's no shutdown, no such a program going to come out to save you. So whatever you have is what you have. So I am saying you should just get it. And even if you don't use it right now, and then maybe in the winter, maybe in the spring, when pandemic get worse, which I really think that is very possible, and Dr. Fauci thinks it's possible, right? So, I mean, we should have some cash, some money saved there for yourself. And loan advance part. And to apply for EIDL loan right now, one of the big benefit is the loan advance part. That equals to grant. So what is grant? Grant is the money given you for granted, right? Grant is the money you don't need to pay back, and it's forgiven, and it is yours. So it is not part of the loan. It is given to you when you apply, based on the number of employees you have in your business. And, like I said on the slides, you really don't need to worry about this grant, and you just need to apply for EIDL loan. And what if you say to me that, Ying, I don't know whether I want to have the loan, but I want to get the grant. What's wrong with just apply? Because the only way to get the grant is to apply for EIDL loan, and you just apply for it. When you got the loan, situation might already change. Maybe pandemic got worse, okay? Maybe your business suddenly went down, and you thought you were doing okay, but you're not. Nobody is immune from COVID-19, nobody, okay? No business is being not impacted. Everybody is impacted. So while you are saying that, well, I don't need a loan, I think you're basing on what you know today. Do you really know tomorrow? I know you don't. So if that's the case, why don't you apply? It is available for small business, all right? And so here, based on our study, and this is EIDL loan advance. When you apply for PPP, and the PPP recommending you to combine the loan advance with the PPP amount to apply for forgiveness. And we look at all the documentation. Right now, they're not talking about it on the PPP newly innovated application. It doesn't have this calculation. And we think that if you received your PPP between the January 31st and April 3rd, and you need to calculate the advance, your EIDL advance need to be part of your PPP application. So let's say you got a PPP loan for $50,000, but your advance is $10,000, so you need to apply for the whole $60,000 as a forgiveness and to get that forgiven. But if it is after that, it is not in the calculation. So this is where when you're ready to apply for forgiveness for PPP, and make sure you check with your bank. Of course, you're going to tell the bank that you got the grant, how much you got. So, but if they are not needing that information, that just means it's not going to calculate it in there for you. And like I said, every business, big or small, should apply, okay? And do consider the next round of pandemic. So the long term I already covered, and it is the 2 million, 30 years, 3.75. If it is nonprofit, it's 2.75, and it's 12 months deferral, okay? And the loan security interest, I already covered that. And if it is under and equal 25,000, no collateral at all. If it is above 25,000 and $1 to 200,000, and there is no personal guarantee, but take a blanket security interest in your business, okay? And that 150K, and someone, I had received so many questions related to the security interest. Someone said that I just got 150,000 EIDL loan. If I am personally liable, I don't want it. If it is not, I will take it. So take it, because you're not personally liable. It is under 200,000, okay? And there's also no repayment penalty, folks. What does that mean? That means if you get EIDL loan and a year later, and even before the 12 months end, you do better, you don't need that money, return it, and that's it. Okay, so there is no prepayment penalty, not like SBA is trying to make money out of your interest. They don't allow you to return the money early, and SBA said that whenever you're ready, return it, okay? That's different from the bank. So a lot of times when you do a loan with the bank, there is a prepayment penalty. In my career time, the largest prepayment penalty I see my client paying was $25,000. Amazing, isn't it? All right. So now someone say, well, Ying, okay, I don't have personal guarantee. That's good. But what kind of things in my business can be considered security interest? And generally speaking, in the small business world, your inventory, your receivable, right? Maybe you provided a service to a client, they haven't really paid you yet, and you were waiting, they didn't pay, so you went bad, and that money is still out there. So if SBA knows the receivable is out there, SBA would collect that for you and pay for the loan. So receivable is one, line of credit is letter of credit is of course one, right? Letter of credit is like money as well. And then you can imagine all your fixed assets inside a business, as long as they can be sold, turn into cash, that's SBA's property if you don't pay them. And EIDL, working capital. Now, and remember we talked about how to use EIDL, and we say that, well, EIDL can only be used for working capital. What exactly is working capital? Let me tell you this. I'll give you a story, okay? So a restaurant again, and the restaurant borrowed $150,000 on EIDL, but the restaurant owner also wants to refinance a property that they have, which is not part of the business, but the business is renting the property, and so they got the $150,000. Can they use that to pay for the building that the business is running in there? The answer is, number one, you cannot use the $150,000 to refinance your loan with that related company. Number two, you can use the $150,000 to pay rent. Okay? So that rent is a working capital. Your rent, your utility, and your everyday expenses. Go back to your checking account and take a look at the checks you write every month. Okay? That is literally your working capital, because you need those cash to pay out in order business to run. So that's why it is what they defined as your daily running working capital. That's what the EIDL loan wants to pay you. Okay? So you use that for it. Payroll, of course. But what if you already used PVP to do your payroll for 2 months? Then don't use EIDL loan for the same 2 months. Use EIDL loan after, right? And what if you have your workers didn't even come back because they're enjoying the high-paid unemployment insurance? They don't even have a need to come back because they get more from workforce than what you can pay them. And you use EIDL loan to hire new people. That's okay. And as long as you don't commingle your PPP payroll cost with your EIDL loan cost. Okay? So working capital, and that is the most plain English I can express about working capital. And if you want to use this EIDL loan to refinancing something, no, that's not a good idea. And what else can we not use EIDL? An EIDL loan cannot be used to award the business owners for good doing. For example, dividends, bonus, and a bonus for employees, absolutely. Bonus for owners, questionable. So EIDL loan, it is not there to reimburse the owners, unless the owner is also an employee, is also doing work. And you cannot use that money to expand your business. For example, you got $150,000, you go, whoa, that is perfect, because I was just about to renovate this place, to renovate my new leased place, and that would be great. I use this money to do renovation. No. You cannot use that money to do renovation. You use EIDL loan to pay for your regular business, and you use the money elsewhere you have to renovate your place. So EIDL loan need to be reflected as what's coming in, what goes out is all working capital, right? All right. So when you got EIDL loan, someone said, well, Ying, I got my grant. I don't want the loan. I know I don't want it because I'm good. And if that's the case, there is a couple of ways you can just get rid of the loan. And you can simply ignore the portal, okay? The portal comes into you, asks you to log in. If you ignore it long enough, and we know that it's 60 days, so if you ignore that long enough, they will be done. And so you don't have the loan. But do they take back your advance? No, they do not. It's yours. It's already in your bank account, okay? And the other way to do it is simply write an email back to SBA, give the loan number, and saying that I do not want to take a loan. And just write to them and terminating that. So it is easy to not get to it, okay? And you can make that decision, although I always tell my small business owner that I do not understand why you do not want it. Just keep it until next year around April. If you don't need it, and you can just return it. Because we do not know, this pandemic is not something anybody has crystal ball, okay? Obviously, from social media, you already know the second wave of shutdown already happened in China. And America, we're not immune from that. We might just go through it. The only difference is we don't shut down. And when we do not shut down, folks, I say it again, you don't get these kind of benefits. Okay? What if you are one of those says, well, I actually don't think 150,000 is enough for me. Okay? Of course, it's a joke. That is not 6 months operating cost. Are you kidding me? And for a small business, if we have 8 employees or 10 employees, there is no way 150,000 is your working capital, is your operating cost. Ms. Carranza says this. Maybe she has a small business and runs so lean, but we don't have. I don't have. So with that, and you can ask for more. The way to ask for more is to open up the portal and write to them. Give them the loan number. And one key thing, folks, I want to tell you, when you write to SBA, I know you're writing to a machine because there's nobody's name on it, make you feel like this is ridiculous and I don't know who I'm writing to. They did not hear me. Trust me, they do hear you, okay? But when you write, you need to write your loan number, your business name, and make sure you spell your business name right, just how IRS sees you, just how you register at Secretary of State, and write your bank account information. I say that because these are the things they're checking on you. They will get your email. They can find you right away. If you don't have those information, I mean, imagine people just go onto the SBA folks and just go onto the portal. They look at each email coming in. If they cannot find you immediately, and you are not going to be taken care of, okay? They have too much work in their hand. So number is important, your name is important, and your bank information is important, okay? So then you can give to them and tell them that, no, I need more. Remember, we have up to $2 million we can get. And you want to negotiate with SBA, and it is worth of doing because they're doing this peanut butter approach on everybody. There is no way some business can survive with $150,000. No way. Okay? So knowing that you do, and you have up to 2 years to apply, and but what if you say, well, Ying, if I wait, what if on the third, fourth years I realize that I need more? Sure, they actually do that. If you have special reasons, right? Extraordinary and unforeseeable circumstances beyond your control, then you can ask for the same loan. So you don't get a new number, you just got new amount. You just get an updated amount. Okay? So make sure that you know that loan number is magic. You don't want another loan number, you won't give another one. It's tied with your EIN number, but that loan number will allow you to get more money if you need it. So I want to show you in one of the portal that we logged in, and this one is only approved for $16,800, okay? Not enough. So my client goes, that's a joke. It's not enough. That's fine. You can do edit. You can increase that amount. You cannot increase that amount, but you want to increase, you have to write to them. But if you want to decrease, you can do it right here. So this is an example that's saying you want less than what you get, what you were given. So you get $16,800, and see how you can move this line all the way down to 1,000. So 1,000 is the smallest amount you can get, but the maximum is what they give you. The reason they give you different amount is because, just like Ms. Corenza said, she calculated that 16,800 would last you for 6 months. And if you really disagree with that, and you need to write back to them and get in with the agent to talk about increasing. Okay, so see, when you are on portal, and it is easy for you to say, I don't want it, and you can just leave the portal alone, and then they will close it for you. But if you want less, you just go to move your little dots and go to the smaller amount. But if you want more, you need to apply for that. If you get a letter or email saying that you didn't get approved, and because your credit is bad, I would fight for that. I would go after to explain why and explain your business needs and go from there and get it. But even if they didn't give you the loan, they should give you the grant, okay, because you applied for it. Now, let's talk about compliance. And earlier I kind of said to you that this is really different. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it. In my past years of practice, I don't like to borrow money, and I personally not the person to borrow money. And if I could afford it, I do it. If I couldn't afford it, I just leave it and wait for later when I have enough money. And borrow government money is never, I would never ever imagine that Ying will end up borrow government money. Yes, I did, just like everyone else. And at this time, and we are trenched with the government money. And when government money is in your business, and you have to be willing to be in compliance. Okay, so if you borrow, if you are borrowing money from SBA, here is what they want you to do. They want you to keep track of how you use this money. Keep track. Okay, the best practice was recommended is to get a separate bank account. It is such an important best practice. I would even recommend you to separate your EIDL loan account from PPP, because your PPP will close very soon. Once you get forgiven, you finish and you're done. So that bank account goes away really quickly. But your EIDL loan is going to last as long as your loan is not paid back. So you need to have that account. So SBA said, this is SBA's word, I'm just going to read it. For the most reason, they want you to keep the book and record, right? So they said, for the most reason, 5 years until 3 years after the date of maturity. Okay, what it says is that, let's say you paid your loan off in 2020, and they want you to keep the record for till 2023. Okay, so that's what they're saying. But if you are not paid back, you still have to have the most recent 5 years. So your most recent 5 years, if you borrow for 30 years, that would be from your 25 years to 30 years. So those need to be capped, and plus your 3 years that, after the maturity, which including extensions or the date this loan is paid in full, whichever comes first. So there is a maturity date after 30 years, there is an extension which beyond 30 years, and there is the date you pay the loan in full, which is ahead of the 30 years. So whatever date you finish your loan, they want you to keep that many years records. And so they don't want you to trash it within 3 years after you finish the loan. Okay? Then they also said that you will have to keep itemized receipts and contracts for all loan funds spent. I'm sorry. I've been talking too much today. I was with Thomson Reuters doing a virtual meeting as well. So, itemized receipts. What does that mean? Let's say you really did return the loan after 30 years, but from the day one, you've been using it, right? So they want you to keep all the receipts and the contracts. So that means you cannot expire them. You cannot throw them away. You need to keep them. So I have a client saying that, Ying, what am I going to do? There's nobody keeps things for 30 years. And I guess digitalize it and keep them in your digital space and scan the receipts and really do a good keeping for EIDL loan, okay? And in short, I want to say that it has never been more important than today to have your accounting done correctly. And in the past, when you play your own money, sure, you do whatever you want. If you are not being audited and you get through and you probably run 20 years business, government never ever looked at you. But today is different. With the pandemic and the small business are all bubbling up, we surfaced. We were never known to the government. Now the government sending money, you have the PPP, you have EIDL loan, gosh, you maybe even have a Main Street new loan program in your business. Those are all invitations for compliance review, okay? Now, if you borrow over 150,000 up to 2 million, and the SBA asks you to agree on many things. So I highlighted a couple of ones for you. One is the lobbying. So let's say if I borrow the money and I hire a marketing person to do the marketing for Community CPA. So I wrote a check to her, say $10,000, okay? But this lady who got my $10,000 from an EIDL loan has to promise that she does not use my $10,000 for political lobbying. See how that requirement is not just for me, it is for all the people that who works for me use the EIDL loan. What does that say to you? That says to you that when you send checks over to your vendor, they need to know that is EIDL loan. Okay? So those are requirements. This is just one of the requirements. I want to really bring it up because as a small business, we sometimes don't understand that. We sometimes don't see it. And we don't view it that way, but no, you have to. Now, it is different. And double dipping. Double dipping is another thing that with EIDL loan. And you can, you maybe have a mainstream loan program with you. You have EIDL loan. You have the state grant. And you also have PPP. You need to account them all separately. They cannot be used twice. One utility bill can only be used for one kind of loan, one kind of program, one kind of grant. You cannot use that one and to charge it to all of your grants. So these are the things that, folks, is so important, and I want to make sure that you remember that. So now we sort of covered the knowledge of EIDL loan, and we covered compliance. And I am getting into an area, it's called accounting for EIDL loan. And I know you're going to shrink because it's so technical, you don't want to hear it. Trust me, I am written something here is a little technical, but I'll explain it to you really, really clear, really, really simple, okay? So let's just imagine that we got EIDL loan, okay? The reason I say accounting is because that's what you need to tell your accountant to do. And this is required for compliance, okay? So you receive the EIDL loan. So what do you do as accountant or as a bookkeeper or as a business owner? And your bank, because you're giving your bank ID to EIDL when you apply, so they're going to put $150,000 in your bank. So your bank deposit increased by $150,000, right? And the other one increase is called EIDL liability. So your accountant needs to know it has nothing to do with the income statement. You're going to increase your bank and increase liability by $150,000. Okay? When you spend the EIDL loan to pay for that utility bill I was talking about, right? What do? And you're going to increase your utility bill because that is expense. You're expense it out, but you are going out. You are going to write out of an EIDL bank account. So don't use your regular checking account. And you're going to have an EIDL bank account with checks. Okay? You can make the checks with Miss Carenza's face on it, so you actually remember her, and she will be that check. So you will write that utility out of your EIDL loan bank account. All right? We call that EIDL bank account. But when you pay your monthly $760 for that monthly payment for EIDL, remember when we get to June of 2021, we start paying the monthly fee, right? So when you do that, and you will, the 760 has a 700 for the principal. That is related to your $150,000, okay? But that $60 is your interest expense. So you're going to account that interest expense a little different. So this is what you're going to do. And you are going to decrease. You're decreasing your liability, right, for $700. because your 150,000 loan, now you pay back 700. So you decrease that liability account. And your interest expense is tax write-off. So don't forget to put that on your expense. So you increase your interest expense, right? All right. Then now, which bank's gonna write that check? Not Miss Carranza's bank. Is your regular checking. Okay? So your regular checking account will write that 760. So that check doesn't have Miss Carranza's face on it. It's your face on it. All right? So you are going to pay back the loan. So you will write a check, but your accountant knows part of it reverse the liability, part of it increase your expenses. So, but what if you are doing so well? Your business can pay more to EIDL loan. In that case, you'd like to pay a $10,000 to EIDL loan. What do? You will reduce your liability, right, by $10,000, right? And then you will write the check from your bank account, not Ms. Carranza's, okay? So you will write an operating bank, not from Ms. Carranza's bank, at $10,000. Very simple. So you reduce your liability by $10,000, and your operating bank lose $10,000 to SBA because you paid it back, right? When you pay all your EIDL loan off, then very simple. You write your operating bank $100,000, and you reduce all your liabilities in there. So this is the accounting for EIDL. The core principle I'm trying to tell you is you are going to have another bank account called the EIDL bank account. And that bank account also have checks. It's going to have a Miss Carranza's face on it. And you are going to write that check for your operating capital. Operating capital. Don't use that for refinance your loan. Don't use that to pay yourself. And use that to pay your employees and pay your rent, pay your utilities, pay your phone bills, and pay your inventory, and pay whatever you normally would pay. Okay? Pay the bills to Community CPA if we provide great service for you, right? All right. Keep in mind, EIDL loan is not taxable. And don't put that in your bank, and then your accountant look at the deposit and go, oh, wow, boss, you're doing great. You have $150,000 additional income, and let's pay sales tax, let's pay income tax. No, right? You cannot make that an income. It's not taxable. And you can deduct expenses you paid out of Ms. Carranza's account. Okay? You can, know that you wrote these checks out of the EIDL loan, EIDL bank account, right? Those are tax deductible. And your interest is tax deductible, and SBA will not likely give you a 1098, which is the interest they charge you for the year. Not likely. But they will give you something to show the grant. So if they give you $10,000 grant, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to get something showing that you got that income. That is income. That is taxable, but not EIDL loan. All right? So my last slide for today is to show you what kind of things you're going to give to SBA when they walk into your business goes, well, we are coming here to do a compliance review. Be prepared. And be coming through that compliance, shine like a star, okay? And that is what we do. That is what we help all of our clients does. And we think for you, but we want to make sure you are in compliance, okay? So look at this, okay? When SBA comes to do compliance to you, you just need to print out the EIDL bank ledger and support it with your receipts. Remember, the receipt was like for 30 years, you're going to scan them, you're going to save it, right? And in fact, our firm, we provide a virtual solution called File Cabinet. And if you are our client, you definitely can ask for it. And I literally, it is literally a program that it will save all of your receipts. You can organize them, and we call them File Cabinet. They're virtual. They're in your portal if you subscribe to it. And the fee for that is actually $25 per month. That is for that portal. The space is actually unlimited, so it is a really good investment to get into the virtual world. But let's look at this. Remember, we had this example, right? So on June 1st, we received a deposit of $150,000. So $150,000, that increased my EIDL bank balance. And Ms. Carranza gave me $150,000, so I deposit that in there. So that's your beginning of EIDL compliance. Then on June 5th, you paid a May utility bill. So that is $2,500. See, your balance dropped to $147,500. And on June 15th, you paid May rent, $5,000. And on the end of June, you made a monthly payment, $700. Remember, your monthly payment was $760, but that $60 doesn't land on EIDL bank account, right? So that $60 is actually your interest expense, okay? And then on July 5th, you paid utility for 2020 again. And on July 15th, you paid rent again. So you got a loan balance of $134,300. And you made good money, you decided to pay it off and be done with, so you write a check for $134,300. See how we finished EIDL loan. And now I am being compliance reviewed. So SBA want me to supply information. I print out my ledger and I attach all my expenses. So my rent, my utility. For the rent, I attach the lease agreement and I attach the canceled check. And so there you go. I'm done. So this is everything related to EIDL.